They don't like to come out of their comfort zones because they cannot see what you were not seeing at that time. But you were seeing something different, which pushed you out of the comfort zone. So why people, they don't push themselves out? They can't see at all, or they see, but they're too much in comfort, or something is holding them back.
That's an excellent question. Over the past almost about 12 years, I've had the distinct pleasure of working with almost about 500 different organizations across 38 different countries. And through coverage of about 120,000 people in different ways, it boils down to a couple of lessons that I've learned for myself.
Very nice.
So the first lesson is that human beings don't like change.
Yes.
And again, I'm not the first person to actually discover this truth. It has been there since time immemorial. But human beings don't do well with change. So there's a part of us that wants to remain in our comfort zone. People want to eat healthier. People want to, have career changes. People want to take on different skills. You want to do a lot of things in life, but unfortunately, most people don't end up getting there. Just wanting to change is not enough. There's a part of you that is holding you back, and that's human. That's not you or I being lazy. We're just human beings. So that's the first lesson. The second lesson that I've actually learned over the past 11 odd years, specifically when it comes to human capital development and behavioral change, is that change is painful. Because change is painful, a lot of people, even if they begin, do not persist. So change and persistence go hand in hand. So some of the most successful leaders that we've worked with, some of the most successful professionals that we've come across, they seem to be resilient. They seem to be persistent. They have what we call the grit factor. They might not be the smartest, but they are definitely not giving up. So I think some of the individuals that I come across, and we do a lot of executive coaching as well, they sometimes will ask us, what is the key to behavioral change? And the two lessons that I've shared with you are exactly the two different keys to the same lock.
Beautiful lesson in it. This is so true. When you look back at almost a decade-long experience in banking and finance, so what are the key lessons? Of course, you mentioned about them, but coming back from the banking and financial background, and now transition is becoming as a master coach and trainer. So what is that in it?
So what I continue to remind myself of is that you are not even aware of your potential. As a person, you are not aware of your potential, and what you think you are capable of, you're probably underestimating yourself.
Right.
And these lessons I learned over these different transitions that I had in life. I've moved countries several times. I have faced different challenges. I have faced failures in life as well. And what I've learned consistently from them is that you will continue to surprise yourself on the upside. You will not disappoint yourself if you believe in yourself. A lot of the time when you have individuals working with different trainers or coaches, those coaches are technically paid to believe in you, right? That's their job. They're going to tell you that you can do better and you are capable of so many more things.
Right.
But why wouldn't you believe in your potential? The first person that needs to believe that you're capable of so much more in life is you. And once you've made that realization, then everything else becomes more effective. So over the course of these different transitions in life, I've actually found this out for myself, where I was a very smart financial analyst. And then I was a very smart money manager. But then when I had a chance of this transition, then over the past 10, 11 years, I've actually become a master trainer as well. And if somebody would have said this to me 15 years ago, when I was studying really hard for my CFA, when I was working for Air Canada as a financial analyst, that I'd be sitting in Dubai in 2024, having done several thousand hours of consulting and training, I would have probably laughed them out of the room. A lot of the time, we are the first people who limit our own selves. Other people will sometimes doubt you. That's okay. But it is never okay for you to doubt your own self.
People, they doubt themselves. Do they look for some endorsement from others?
Now, that's a very interesting question that you raise. And human beings in general are a product of their nature and environment. If you have people growing up that were installing a positive self-image in you, then a lot of individuals will grow up into young adults and professionals that probably don't need that validation because they already believe that they are working hard. What they're doing is with a lot of dedication and sincerity. And if results are not what they need to be, well, then, they'll continue to work at it till they achieve it. If a child growing up is only given feedback when they have failed, or they're admonished when they don't do well on a test, and they're never really given positive reinforcement for everything else that they're doing good in life, then sure, these children will grow up into people who are always looking for validation in life. And I think in general, human beings like to be loved. I think that's a feeling that most people would like. But for people who constantly look for certain validations in life, I think if you look deep enough, you can probably trace that back to a certain childhood environment that they grew up in.
Right. As long as you're looking for validation of other people in your life, you're not ready to move forward, probably not ready to do lots of things because you are mostly thinking about other people. What are they going to say? What are their opinions? So you're looking for those validation. But at some stage, people, they start doing something. For them to be consistent and being persistent in doing something, they are also looking for appreciation.
Yeah.
And if they don't get much appreciation, then how would you distinguish in these two?
I think I would probably answer that question by another question to you, actually, because I would love to be able to hear your thoughts about it. You obviously interviewed a lot of people. You've met a lot of successful professionals in life as well. Do you feel that these individuals, which probably are examples of a certain level of success in life, do you feel that they are looking for validation?
If you ask my opinion, I see in different way.
Okay.
People, those who are successful people, they don't look for any validation. But when they do something, they get appreciation, they get more motivated probably. Appreciation helps you to enrich you to do that thing what you're already doing to improve it further. So not to start at the starting point, because of the validation, probably people, they don't jump into something to start something. But once they do it, and they continue doing it, they definitely look for some sort of appreciation. Look at any top singer. You go, if he's singing, and the big concert, and people just sitting like this, and how do they feel?
Yeah.
They enjoy when people, they enjoy. That's kind of appreciation. You go for the personal training. You got a master trainer. How do you see? No feedback is coming from people?
Yeah.
And at the end of this, you always want to have some feedback. How was that? Could you really learn something out of it?
Right.
So this kind of appreciation helps. Could I answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a very interesting perspective because validation comes in different ways. Modern day validation comes from likes and subscribers and comments, right? Validation can come in forms where sometimes it is very unique to you.
Yeah.
So I think all people are looking for some sort of validation at the end of the day. It just differs from person to person in the sense that I might not need validation from anybody in my life except my father, for example. Yeah. Or somebody might need validation from their boss, or somebody might need validation from their children or their wife. So I think there are certain people in our life that we don't ever want to disappoint. I don't know if we can call that validation or we can call that just making sure that these people are always happy with us, right? However, there's another spin that I would probably want you and your audience to actually think about. You look at high-performing athletes. We have the example of, which I believe is one of the most inspirational stories of the past decade, if not more, Arshad Nadeem. So Arshad Nadeem has done something that has never been done in the history of a nation of about 250 million people.
Yeah.
So he's achieved the gold medal when it has never been done before. And there are countries that have been trying to do that for a while. And this guy, with almost no support from the middle of nowhere, has been able to achieve this highest accolade in life. What validation did he get up until that point?
Up until that point.
Up until that point,
Yeah,
right?
because after that, yeah.
Exactly, because after that, yes, absolutely, everybody is standing in line to congratulate him, right?
Sure.
Success has a lot of fathers, failure is an orphan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are, some other athletes that went alongside him in the contingent as well. Nobody's talking about them.
No.
But for Ashraf Nadeem, everybody is lining up to congratulate him. But the question is, what kept him going up until that point where he won the first medal? So I understand that he had won certain accolades before. So he went to the Asian Games, he went to the Commonwealth Games, because I've been following him for a while now. And I understand that before, at that medal, people's expectation went up. Last Olympics, he was, I think, number 4 or number 5. But what about before that? Where was the crowd? Where was the applause? It was not there. And if you look at all of the highest performing athletes in the world, Usain Bolts of the world, the Virat Kohlis of the world, the Muhammad Salahs of the world, the validation or the accolades that we're seeing are coming after they've already achieved a certain excellence in life. But how do you get there? How do you get there when the crowd is not there, when nobody's cheering you on, when nobody's telling you that you are the best in the world? So that's the first perspective that I want to give to you, and it's food for thought. It's just, something that I would like you and your audience to consider. And the second thing is, these high-performing athletes, these celebrities, they get booed, right? Sometimes they don't do well, and the world comes crashing down. An example is Babar Azam, who's one of the premium batsmen for the Pakistani cricket team, right? And right now he's struggling. And people around the world are seeming to turn on him. Now, this is a high-performing athlete who was, and probably still is, one of the best in the world. How does a person which used to live in a world of love that has now turned into hate continue to be in a state of mind where they can compete and perform at the highest level? So validation, sure, is important. Not letting people down in your life that are important, absolutely important. But when you are trying to achieve a certain level of excellence in life, when you're trying to achieve what we call the Olympic standard, or you're trying to achieve being the best of the best, I think validation and accolades become a lot less important.
Yeah, I agree with you. And once you mentioned about for your case, for example, you said for you the validation is, of course, when you want to hear from your father. This is a beautiful thing. I still remember when my mom, she passed away, and the first thing which came to my mind, for any success which I wanted to bring back home, and first happiness, more than the happiness, was just to announce this to my mother. You see, such a great feeling. And I was saying, who am I going to tell this
That's
now?
beautiful.
So this is the validation which you are getting from your father or your mother, is something which really fortify you, energize you to the extent that you are ready to conquer the world.
Yeah.
I still remember I was listening to Habib. Habib said once there was a time that he was about to be choked, and he was saying, how I'm going to be choked when my father is sitting and he's looking at my fight.
Yeah.
He never lost any fight in his life.
Yeah.
Basically, this is something which is, because this is father who is behind him. But then, of course, I was also seeing the documentary on McGregor. When he had nothing in his life, his wife was sitting and appreciating him. She was working, he was fighting. They were just trying to win, just trying to reach some level. He didn't know he was going to be number one. So mother and wife, they supported a lot. So this kind of a validation, this kind of a support, this kind of encouragement you need from your family.
Sure.
Then it comes to, once you win, you become something, you have a lot of appreciation, you have recognitions, and like all those sort of things. So again, it's kind of a complex thing, and we are just discussing, we are not proving what is the way, right or wrong. But unnecessary validation does not stop to successful people. They don't look for validation. They know in their mind they are champions. They already know this.
Yes.
They don't really focus on to these petty issues around them or these things. Coming back to your training part now,
Yes.
because this is very important for us to learn and for the audience to learn from you. How do you articulate your thoughts clearly before you start to speak with the large audiences?
There's a concept that is called the flow state. And the flow state is a concept around a heightened level of high performance in anything that you do, where it just happens and you're not thinking about it. So your cognitive brain is not planning the words that are about to come out of your mouth. And this is what we call a high level of performance. So if you go to a concert, a musician goes into this trance where, they just have this beautiful passage of song. Or you go and you watch a sports game and the sports person just does this amazing, series of actions, right? You go to your office and you're just having the best day and everything seems to be working out, and you just can't figure out what's working out, right? These are all examples of people going into the flow state. The flow state requires an enormous amount of practice. There are certain, publications that say you want to practice something about 10,000 times so that you can master it. And then the challenge of what you're doing needs to be high as well. When these two things come together, you have the potential of achieving the flow state. Now, I find that I go into the flow state a lot of the time when I'm doing presentations, when I'm doing coaching, when I'm doing speaking engagements to larger audiences.
Yeah.
So the long-winded answer to your question is practice. Get yourself out there.
Right.
Understand what is required to be able to do an effective communication/presentation to people, and then just do it, and keep doing it till one day you wake up and you are absolutely great at this. And then when you are eventually able to go into the flow state, in not just this, but any other skill in life,
Absolutely.
you are doing it without even realizing.
This is so true. I mean, if we talk about the podcast, when I started this podcast, still when I see my initial podcast, still I'm on not the flow state probably. I'm still getting, every time I feel that I'm improving and I have to keep improving until I really reach to that flow state that everything is happening the way you want. So every time there is a room for the improvement, So it comes into everything. You have to reach to that flow state, and it comes with the practice. The more you practice, the better you become. So you have to reach that. Okay, now again, we talk about something like appreciation, validation, feedback, recognitions, and all that.